Okay, again, this is degree 4, descending order, no greatest common factor, no leading coefficient, negative leading coefficient. This is not a special product, right? Because it's negative 75. So I'm going to say, let's say t be x squared. And this is indeed t squared. So t squared minus 22t minus 75. This I know how to factor because I'm looking for two numbers whose product is negative 75 and whose sum is negative 22. The product is negative, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative. They're far away from each other, 22 units away. And I'm thinking that it's 25 and 3. So 25 and 3. 3 times 25 is negative 75. 3 times negative 25. And 3 minus 25 is negative 22. I go back and I factor using t plus 3 and t minus 25, which cannot be factored. I'm sorry, minus 25. And then I replace x squared, t by x squared. So x squared plus 3 and x squared minus 25. And this can be factored, this cannot. So this is x squared plus 3, x plus 5, x minus 5. If you wrote them in a different order, it's still the same thing. Okay, ready now to finish up this chapter? Okay. First application. Application of factoring. The first application of factoring is solving equations by factoring. Solving equations by factoring. Okay, in order to solve equations by factoring, we have to learn a principle first. It's the principle of zero product. The principle of zero product. So in other words, I cannot solve an equation by factoring unless I know and I understand the zero product principle. Okay? Good. So, what does the zero product principle say? Well, let's say I have two factors. Or you can say maybe 3. Or you can say maybe 4. Whatever. Whatever number of factors. Factors means they are all multiplied. Set equal to 0. So if I have 2 or more factors set equal to 0, how many solutions will this equation have?
1. Oh, 4.
A could be 0. That's the first solution. B could be 0. That's the second solution. C could be 0. That's the third solution. Or D could be 0, and that's the fourth solution. Okay? So A could be 0. B could be 0. C could be 0. D could be 0. If I have 2 factors, then no, I can only have 2 solutions. If I have 10 factors, I can only have 10 solutions. Good? So then, let's start by looking at, I'm hoping you still have this handout. It's right here at the very end. The zero product principle. Okay, here it is. The equation AB equals 0 is true if and only if, what will I put in here? If and only if A, exactly. That's it. That's the answer. A or B is 0. So I would like to work on these problems and then choose problems from the book. And also I have more equations on the back right here. So let's start with the first one. X minus 2 multiplied by 7 minus 4x equals 0. This is an equation. The left-hand side are two factors. We have the two factors on the left-hand side. One factor is x minus 2. The other factor is 7 minus 4x. I have the equal symbol and 0. The zero product principle is applicable here. I have only two factors, set equal to 0. What can happen? What are the options?
Foil it.
Never. X minus 2 could be 0. That's our first factor. Or what else can happen here?
7 minus 4x.
7 minus 4x could be 0. So if this product is 0, these are the only options. The first factor could be 0, or the second factor could be 0. Now I have to solve for x. This is not done. I have to get x, and I have to get x. What is x from here? X equals?
2.
Very good. That's our first solution.
Because you're trying to make it equal 0.
Good. Now I move 7. Negative 4x equals negative 7. And from here, our second solution is?
4x.
What do I have to do to both sides here to get x?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it would be 7 plus 4. Oh,
I'm dividing both sides. Negative 4 multiplies x. I know we got to step 10. We forgot how to solve linear equations from test 1, right? So we have to divide both sides by negative 4 in order to solve for x. Yes? We agree? Yes? We remember?
Can you do this again?
I'm moving 7 to the other side becomes negative 7. I have to divide by negative 4 to get x. Right? This was from 3 months ago. Right? So this equation has two options, two solutions. If you want to go back and plug it in, you can. 2 minus 2 will be 0. 0 times whatever is 0. When you plug in 7/4, this will be 0. 0 times whatever is 0. So the equation has two solutions. Okay, x squared equals 100. This is our second equation. What do I have to do first?
would you write 100 as 10 squared?
True, we could, but what is my first target?
Or would the answer be 10?
Not yet. No.
Could you turn into a binomial?
Yes, because I have to have 0 on one side. It's required. The zero product principle. That's my first thought. Yes, I have to turn it into a binomial. I have to have 0 on one side. Without the zero product principle, I cannot solve. And yes, Whitney's right. He knows a different method, but we don't talk about that method until chapter 10. But he's right. So, the left-hand side. Now, I do have 0 on one side, but I don't have a product on the other. So that's where factoring comes into place. How do I change the left-hand side into a product?
X equal to,
No, I want to change x squared minus 100 into a product.
oh, that's good.
Okay, it's in descending order. It's a binomial. No negative leading coefficient, no special product, no greatest common factor. So I'm here now. Which one?
X squared minus 10 squared
Right, but how do I factor it?
x plus 10 x minus 10.
Ah. Now, the zero product principle is applicable. I have two factors on one side and I have 0 on the other. So then you will give me two options, not just one. The equation is quadratic. I have to have two solutions. So then, x equals and x equals.
-10 and +10.
That's it. We will get used to this. This is just the second example. Okay, 4x squared minus 18x equals 70. This is our new equation. There are two requirements. One is 0 on one side, and the other requirement is what on the other?
Triangle.
A product,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's why we factored. So we can solve this. That's one of the reasons why we learned how to factor polynomials. So we can solve this. Okay, what do I have to do first?
Subtract 70.
Awesome. 4x squared minus 18x minus 70 equals 0. That is the very first step. Remember, I always recommend factor, simplify, factor if you can. And I see that there is a greatest common factor. This is crucial to remember, to go through all the steps and not skip anything. There is a greatest common factor in an equation I can get rid of. Never by x. But in this equation, I can divide both sides by what? 2. Because it's an equation, I don't have to keep that 2. If it were an expression that I was factoring, yes. Okay, so then 2x squared minus 9x minus 35 equals 0. I can divide both sides of an equation by 2 without changing the solution. Okay, so now I look at this trinomial and I say, okay, it's in descending order, no special product, 1 is not the leading coefficient, oops, it's the most difficult type, in which I'm trying to find two numbers whose product is and whose sum is.
That is -35.
Careful, the leading coefficient is not 1. If the leading coefficient is not 1, the product will not be -35. But
-9.
that is the sum. The sum will never change.
It would be negative 5.
Be +5 and -14.
So yes. So negative, so remember when the leading coefficient is not 1, that number has to be incorporated within the product. So if the leading coefficient were 1, then I would have said the product is -35 and the sum is -9.
Okay.
But the leading coefficient is not 1, I cannot disregard it, I have to incorporate it in the product. So then 2 times -35 is -70. And yes, one has to be positive, one has to be negative because the product is negative. And Corey already told us -14 and +5. The sum is -9 and the product is -70. But now this is not straightforward. If you remember, I have that intermediate huge step, right? In which I replace -9x by these two. I cannot straightforwardly say, oh, the factor form is blah, blah, blah. Because the leading coefficient is not 1. So then we have 2x squared minus 14x plus 5x minus 35 equals 0. Now let me say this. If you forget to write the equal symbol and 0, you will not solve the equation. Be very careful. So if you forget this, you're just going to factor it without solving it. So this is extremely important. Okay, now I have 4 terms. What do I factor out from the first 2?
2x.
What is left in parentheses?
X minus 7.
What should I have coming out from the other 2? And look what I do now. Like before, I copy the parentheses. I'm waiting for you to say what to put in there, and I copy the equal symbol and 0, because if I forget to copy the equal symbol and 0, I would not be able to solve.
It'll be +5 for the
So I will copy the x minus 7, and now I look, and you said +5, and I would have to agree. Now, what is the common factor that gets pulled out?
x minus 7,
Yes. And what needs in parentheses?
2x plus 5.
Very good. And now, please give me two solutions for x. One coming from the first factor, and the other one coming from the second factor, please.
The first one would be +7,
That's it.
and the second one would be 5 over 2x.
I cannot divide by 2x when I'm solving for x. 2x plus 5 equals 0, I move 5. 2x equals -5, I divide by 2. X equals -5 halves. We can't forget how to solve linear equations. Please, 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 please. If the degree of a polynomial equation is 2, I have to present 2 solutions. If the degree is 3, I have to present 3 solutions, and so on and so forth. Next problem, please. Any questions for me? 2x to the third minus 50x equals 0. What is the degree of this polynomial, please?
3,
How many solutions will you give?
2, 3.
Degree 3, 3 solutions. Degree 5, 5 solutions. Degree 4, 4 solutions. Good. So let's look at this polynomial, or this equation, and simplify only by numbers if we can. And do not ever divide by the variable. We cannot do that. Okay, is there any number that I could get rid of?
X.
X is not a number. We can never divide by x. But 2 and 50 can be divided both sides, or the equation can be divided both sides by?
2.
Indeed. Always try to simplify whatever you are given if you can. Keeping the 2 in there is just going to make my life more miserable. Dividing both sides by 2 will not change the solutions. But I cannot divide by x. Do not be tempted to divide by x. So then we have x cubed minus 25x equals 0 divided by 2 is
0.
very good. So now I know
I'm sorry. So you have to divide a 0 by 2?
everything. I have $0 in my hand. I want to share it with you. How much will you get?
0.
When I divide both sides. Not pick and choose. I can't do that. Okay. So now it's in descending order. It's a binomial. Descending order. Greatest common factor. Yes, there is a factor that I can get rid of. Like I did with this one. Which one? Very good. So what is left in parentheses? Now I dig deep. Okay, it's a binomial. Is there a special product that I can use here?
Yes.
Yes. I always hope for a special product. They're much easier than anything else. So now, I'm expecting how many solutions again?
3.
Very good. From the first factor, what do I get?
0. Why not 1?
Because you're multiplying it.
So 1 times 6 times -4, is that 0? So this is factor A, and this is factor B, and this is factor C. I have to write A equals 0. I have to write B equals 0 and solve. And I have to write C equals 0 and solve. Does it make sense? So once I write x equals 0, I get x equals 0. When I write the second one, what do I get? Very good. And when I write the second one, A third one? Yeah. Or the other way around, doesn't matter. Is that clear? Yes? Things are getting complicated. But that's why we learn factoring for this. Okay, a plus 1, a minus 5 equals 7. I moved the test to the following week, not this coming week. And I moved the homework due next Friday, not yesterday. Okay. Can I apply the zero product principle here?
Yeah, you subtract 7.
True. I cannot, the answer is no, I cannot. I have to have it set equal to 0, which is a plus 1, a minus 5, minus 7. Okay, now can I use the zero product principle? Two conditions have to be fulfilled. I have to have 0 on one side, I do, but the second condition says a product of factors on the left. Is the left a product of factors? This is a product of factors. X times x plus 5 times x minus 5. That is a product of factors. Is this a product of factors? It has minus in there.
Yeah.
So this is a product minus this. This is not a product of factors. What do I do? I have to distribute. Incorporate negative 7 and factor. Sure. So a squared minus 5a plus a minus 5 minus 7 equals 0. Absolutely. My only chance. Distribute, combine my terms, and see what I get. So then I have a squared minus 4a minus 12 equals 0. That's why I learned factoring for this. To be able to change a squared minus 4a minus 12 into a product of two factors. Since the degree is 2, how many solutions will you present?
Two.
Exactly 2. Good. How do I factor this? It's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, but 1 is the leading coefficient, which helps. So what do I have? Which means I don't have to go through the long procedure, I don't have to incorporate the leading coefficient, it's just straightforward. Product negative 12, sum negative 4.
Could be, yeah.
So then you will give me 2 options for A. Very good. What are the options?
Plus 6 minus 2.
That's it. Awesome. Do we understand how we get these solutions? Is the zero product principle clear? It doesn't work unless I have 0 on one side and a product of factors on the other. And I always know now how to get those to work because I learned factoring. Okay, next one, D. D minus 3 equals 40. Any suggestions with this problem?
Yeah, I would break down the first portion of it.
You mean distribute?
Distribute, yeah.
I agree. And would you will write?
I would write d squared minus d3.
Okay, that's fine.
Minus 40.
Yes.
equals 0.
Exactly. I can't use the zero product principle on d minus 3 equals 40. I have to have 0 on one side. And once I move 40 to the other side, I no longer have a product on the left. So I have to distribute it. Again, not a big situation here because it's a trinomial descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product. But 1 is the leading coefficient. So it's a straightforward, no long procedure situation, which I like.
And this is the chapter 10, correct?
This is 6. No,
Oh,
no.
wait.
So this is still chapter 6, first application of factoring.
Oh, I'm
And chapter 7 is what I would like to show you. So, what do I do here?
D minus 8 and D plus 5,
So the two options are,
negative 5, positive D.
do we all agree with this? Okay, good. 2 more here, and then we go to the next page. X squared plus 7x minus 60 equals 0. Another straightforward situation. We have the answer.
X minus 12. Yep.
So x plus 12 we said?
Minus. He was giving you the answer, I think.
I need to write the factor form too.
Yeah, it's x plus 12, x minus 5.
So now the solutions are x equals negative 12 and x equals 5. Okay, one more here. One half x squared plus 5x plus 25 divided by 2 equals 0. Okay. What do you think I would do first?
Could you make the middle term a fraction as well?
I could, but I don't want fractions at all. I want,
Multiply everything by 2?
of course. Of course. Never be afraid of fractions, especially in an equation, because you can always get rid of them. So, the first term becomes
X squared,
very good, plus,
10x,
very good, plus,
25.
and I have to multiply the right-hand side as well. How much is 0 times 2?
0.
Very good. Never be afraid of fractions. One more time, especially in an equation. You can always remove them. Good. Trinomial, descending order. Greatest common factor, no. Negative leading coefficient, no. Special product.
Yeah.
Indeed. So what will you write?
X plus 5 and x minus 5 per square.
Because remember, x plus 5x minus 5 is a binomial,
Oh,
right? This is a trinomial. So we're looking at this. Yes.
How did you put 10? I mean, I know 10, 2 times 5 is 10x plus 25. How did you didn't multiply that by 2?
1 over 2 times 2 over 1 is 1. 5 times 2 is 10. 1 over 2 times 2 over 1 times 25 is 25.
Multiplying the fraction gets rid of the 2 below it.
Mm.
What happened?
25 over 2 multiplied by 2 over 1.
Oh, got it.
We always simplify first before we multiply to make our life easier. So I have to check the middle term. 2 times the first times the second, is that 10x? 2 times the first times the second, is that 10x?
Yeah.
So this is indeed that. So you're going to give me two solutions, but they will be the same.
Right, which would be -5, right?
Indeed. X equals -5. Okay, on the back page, let's look at these. Y to the
Wait a
third.
second, so earlier
Yes.
you were telling us, I think, something along the lines of like the degree of these determines how many
Exactly.
answers there are,
Yes,
but the degree on this one was actually 2.
correct. There are two solutions. But there is no point in writing x equals -5 twice.
Oh, okay.
But there are two solutions.
Okay,
And you will see in the next course what happens at that point
okay,
for the graph of this function.
okay, you're right, because technically there are 2 solutions.
Right,
They're the
but
same
it
solution.
happens that they are the same,
Okay.
because this is x plus 5 times x plus 5, and I should write x equals -5 twice.
Okay,
But if I say Chris, it doesn't mean I have two people,
okay.
right? With the same name. Good, now here, what is the degree? How many solutions will you write? Yes, mandatory. Good. Remember, you cannot divide both sides by y. You could say, okay, let's get rid of y. No, we can't. We can get rid of a number that we divide both sides by, but we can't divide by x or y. So what will be the first step? Remember, it's a trinomial. It's in descending order. Greatest common factor? Yes. Which is? Y, indeed. What is left in parentheses?
Y squared minus 2y minus 4.
Good. So now I have y squared minus 3y minus 4, no special product. 1 is the leading coefficient, at least that. So I can go straightforwardly to the factored form. And what do I get? The product is -4, the sum is -3. Say it again.
3 and 1.
But the product is not -4. If you say 3 and 1,
It's got to be -4 plus 1.
yes. Y minus 4, y plus 1. Now I want 3 solutions from you, please.
Wouldn't the first one be y equals 0?
Excellent.
And then positive 4, and -1.
Very good. Questions on this problem? Okay, x to the 4th minus 36x squared equals 0. Now you know why I tortured you with factoring for a month. How many solutions will you write for this one? Even if they're all the same.
4.
Exactly. Good. And you cannot divide, although if you say, oh, okay, let's divide quickly by x squared. If I divide by x squared, I will only find 2 solutions. I can do that.
So we can't do the y trick on this one?
You don't have to.
No.
Because once you factor out the greatest common factor, you're almost done. That's why do not skip any of the steps here. Because you make your life more difficult if you skip any of the steps in the strategy. So there is a common factor of x squared, and what do we have in parentheses?
X squared.
Very good, which I know how to factor. So let's factor it.
X minus 4, x plus 4,
It's 6.
6. Oh, yeah, 6.
I need 4 solutions, even if some of them are the same. still need 4. And what are they?
Would it be 0, 0,
Awesome.
and then -6 plus 6?
Why is x equals 0 twice? Because x squared is x times x plus 6 times x minus 6. So there are 2 solutions x equals 0. Very important. You'll see in the next class what that
So,
means.
out of curiosity, if for our example where we got x squared and then x plus 6, x minus 6, if it was x cubed outside of that, would it be 0, 0, 0, -6 plus 6? Okay.
And you will see what happens there. When there are 3 solutions the same, when you get to graph this function.
Okay.
Very important. Okay, next one, 4. X to the 4th equals 100 x squared. Now if you say to me, divide both sides by x squared, I'll say never. But if you say divide both sides by, I will say yes.
But 4?
Exactly. That 4 will not change. Dividing both sides by 4 will simplify the equation, and it will not change the solutions. So then the left-hand side has x to the 4th, and the right-hand side would be 25x squared. So my first thought was simplify the equation if you can. And I was able to, divided both sides by 4. Now I have to think in terms, okay, I have to have 0 on one side and a product on the other, so I can use the 0 product principle, and so on and so forth. So then I have x to the 4th minus 25x squared equals 0. If I omit the equal symbol and 0, I mess up the whole thing, because I will not solve. I will only factor. And that will not give us a solution. So then, descending order, it's a binomial. Greatest common factor, yes. There is a big factor in there that I can't get rid of.
Which would be x squared.
It will be x squared. What is the degree one more time? That's why I cannot divide by x or x squared. The degree has to stay till the very end so I can determine exactly how many solutions.
X minus 5.
X squared minus 25. So then x squared, and then,
X minus 5.
yes, in any order, you're right. But I need how many solutions again?
4.
Yes. And what are they?
Zero. Positive 5, -5.
Very good.
So how do you know you need two answers? Oh, because it's the S word,
Yes.
right?
Okay. B cubed equals -1. What do I do now with this?
Add 1 both sides.
Very good. Awesome. So b cubed plus 1 equals 0. If I omit the equal symbol and 0, the whole thing collapses. Binomial, descending order, yes. Greatest common factor, no. Negative leading coefficient, no. Special product, I always hope for a special product. If it is a special product, which one could it be? Exactly, thank you very much. Binomial times a trinomial. What is the degree and how many solutions do I have to present? Degree is 3, I have to present 3 solutions. Very good, awesome. So when I factor the sum of cubes, what is the symbol in the binomial? Very good. And what is the symbol in the trinomial in the middle? So remember the sequence of signs, plus, plus, minus, or minus, minus, plus. Good. So can anyone give us the binomial? Once you give me the binomial, the trinomial is easy.
B plus 1.
Very good. So square this, put it here, square this, put it here, and the product here.
B squared
Very good.
minus 1.
But I have to multiply these two. I cannot just keep one.
You just need 1B.
Yes. And plus?
1.
Yes. Good. So for now, I have two options. Can anyone dictate the two options? I want to write the two options for everyone to see. The first option is from here, easy. How much?
Minus 1.
Very good. And the second option is from here, b squared minus b plus 1 equals 0. This is not factorable. You have to wait till math 012. We cannot solve this. But we know two solutions will come out of there for a total of 3. Right? This is degree 2. So two solutions will come from here, and here's the third one. As expected, degree 3. Okay.
That whole process and then,
Say it again?
so we have to go through that whole process and for the second part of this.
You mean in 012?
Yeah.
With a different method, because this is not factorable. Yes. Okay, two more here. X cubed minus x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals 0.
Hey, but for that last problem, for the second,
For this one?
the answer was 0 though?
Okay.
Because you put equal 0 at the end of it. The two numbers we
Well,
found
it
was
has to be,
negative 1 and 0.
because
it's
you,
not
you
factorable,
set
right?
this one equal to 0, and that's how you get that.
Right.
Then you have to set the other factor equal to 0, but you cannot continue,
Oh, alright.
because we don't know how.
Okay.
We do, but I don't want to extend right now to show you that.
Alright.
Okay, because you're not going to get something like this on this test or final, because this is not part of 011. Okay, good. I see 4 terms. I like it. Why? Because there is only one method and no special products, nothing. So, what do you do for this one? Factor out by grouping. Factor out from the first two.
X squared.
Good. So what do we have left from the other two for sure? Otherwise, I can continue or I have to go back and regroup. X minus 1. And now let's look. Very good. So the common factor is x minus 1, and then x squared plus 4 equals 0. And we have two options from here. And of course, we have to have 3 solutions. One solution is x equals 1, and the other two come from x squared plus 4 equals 0. Same idea. We don't know. We have to wait till the next class. Okay, last one. 3x to the third plus 2x squared minus 27x minus 18 equals 0. And then I would like to work on some word problems. Okay, so what do we do here? What is the degree and how many solutions do we have to obtain at the very end?
Degree 3 and you need 3 solutions.
3 solutions indeed. As we had here, we just couldn't finish it because we don't know this. But the 2 solutions will come from here, and this was the third one, as expected. Again, I like it because it's a polynomial, it's 4 terms, and the only thing that works here is factoring by grouping. From the first 2, you'll factor out
So, 3.
from 3 and 2, I cannot factor out 3.
Yeah, X squared.
Just x squared, yes. Is that clear? Yes? So what is left?
3.
Yes? Good. If I don't get a 3x plus 2 from the other two and write the equal symbol and 0, I may not be able to solve. I need a symbol and a factor. Very good. -9. Now the common factor is 3x plus 2. What is left in parentheses? Good. I know how to handle x squared minus 9. And then I will obtain the 3 solutions. So how do we handle x squared minus 9? Very good. And please, I'm ready for your 3 solutions. Remember, I know you understood it, I know you followed, I know you did very well today, but if you don't go home and practice, it will. So from here, remember you move 2, it becomes negative, and divide by 3.
-2.
Yes.
And, +3 and -2.
So as expected, we have those 3 solutions. Okay, last section of chapter 6. Problem solving. In other words, word problems that reduce to quadratic equations so we can solve them using the zero product principle. That's all it means. Okay, I would like to start with, I selected the exact problems recommended. So I'm going to go over these. Okay, number 13. And this is on page 428. An object is thrown upward from the top of a 80-foot building with an initial velocity of 64 feet per second. So here's the building, and somebody's throwing a ball like this, or an object. The height h equals -16t squared plus 64t and plus 80, where t is time in seconds, h is height in feet. The height h of an object after t seconds is given by the quadratic equation this. When will the object hit the ground? When will the object hit the ground? So assuming I'm right here at the top of a building, let's say I'm right here, right on top, right here on the terrace, right? Up here. And I throw the object. Eventually hits the ground. How long it took? How many seconds it took from the moment I released it, up in the air, throwing it up in the air, and it hits the ground. How long it took? What do I have to write?
Is it distance times time?
We are given the formula for the distance. Yes,
When the height equals 0.
exactly. When it hits the ground, exactly, the height must equal 0. Good. So how do I write this equation?
So it would be that top equation.
-16t squared plus 64t plus 80 equals 0. That's what we've been doing. Good. Okay, this is awful. Look at the numbers. Look at the negative leading coefficient. But I'm hoping that I can do something. What is my hope? My hope is that I can, yes, both sides by, never by t or x or y, but definitely by, my hope is that I can divide both sides by
-16.
-16. This is my hope. I'm hoping that I can get rid of that number that messes up the whole thing. So -16 divided by -16 is just t squared. Then minus what?
-4.
Minus 4t, and then minus what?
-5.
Equals 0 divided by -16.
0.
That's it. This looks more human than the initial one. So remember, that's why I put it here. Greatest common factor and negative leading coefficient. That's why they're here. Good. Descending order, no greatest common factor. We already took care of that. Negative leading coefficient, no special product because it's -5. But at least one is the leading coefficient. So I'm hoping for a quick resolution of this. The product is, of the numbers I'm looking for is the product is
The product is -5,
awesome. And the sum is
-4.
awesome. Great. So can anyone give us two numbers whose product is -5 and whose sum is -4? So you will give us two options for time t. You will say it hits the ground in 5 seconds, and you will say, but you will immediately cross it out. Why? Algebraically, it's correct, but it doesn't make any sense in our problem. Time cannot be negative. It cannot take -1 second for something to happen. Okay, very good. Any questions? 31. On page 429. Let's read it. The length of the base of a triangle. The length of the base of the triangle, B, is twice its height. If the area of the triangle is 100 square kilometers, find the height. So we are told that the base of the triangle is twice the height. We're given the area, and we're asked to find the height. Any idea of how to start? What should I do?
Is it A equals 100 kilometers squared?
Say it again.
Is it A equals 100 kilometers squared of the question?
So the area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2. That's the area, the formula for the area of a triangle. So I'm told that this is twice the height. If I denote the height by x, when I want to express the base, how will I express the base? I'm told the base is twice the height.
X squared.
That's not twice. Twice is twice x, right? So now I need to form an equation here. What is the area given to us? On the left-hand side, 100. The base will be replaced by Very good. Multiplied by. The height will be replaced by and divide by. Very good. Of course, I will simplify. Not going to carry that 2 anywhere. So what is the new equation that we just created? Equals. That's it. Just 10 minutes ago, we solved this equation. What did we do?
X squared minus 100.
Very good. Awesome. X squared minus 100 equals 0. Yes. And then what did we do? On the left-hand side,
X minus is 10.
Very- very good. Awesome. And we will get 2 options for x. Negative 10 kilometers. And x equals 10 kilometers. It's clear why I crossed out the negative 10. Right? The distance cannot be negative. Okay. 23. There is no end to these types of problems that change into equations that we need to solve. The product of 2 consecutive room numbers. Product of 2 consecutive room numbers is 210. Find the room numbers. So something like 9 and 10. So the product of 9 times 10 is given to us. But we are not given the numbers. We don't know where the starting point is. Because if you say the first number is 5, then I'll say, okay, then the next one is 6. But the first one is unknown. I need to multiply it by the next one to get 210. So if the first number is considered x, what will be the next number, consecutive number from x? So x, what will be the next one?
Y.
You could, but then it complicates things. Twice, so if the first one is 5, twice times x will be 10. Exactly. That's exactly what we need. 2 consecutive numbers, x and x plus 1. What if I want 3 consecutive numbers? What will you give me? X, x plus 1, x plus 2. Is that clear? Yes? Okay, how do I solve this equation? So the product of 2 consecutive numbers equals 210. What do I have to do? Solve this equation for x. We solved a few minutes ago.
Do you divide? Oh, no, never mind.
Good. Okay. Very good, because I have to have 0. That's mandatory. Yes. Very good. And now what am I trying to do? To the left-hand side. I'm trying to how is the process called? We've been dealing with it in the entire chapter 6. Very good. It's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, but 1 is the leading coefficient. So that must count for something. So x plus minus?
Should be minus 14 plus.
It should be plus 15 minus 14, shouldn't it?
Very good. So there are 2 options for x. x equals, and x equals.
Minus 15 plus 14.
Why did I cross out the first one? Because there is no root number that I know of as negative 15. So if the first number is 14, what would be the next consecutive number? 15. Okay, one more and we'll stop. The sum of a number and its square is 132. 21 on 428. The sum of a number and its square is 132. How do I write that?
Can you say that again?
The sum of a number
Plus
and its square
X squared.
X
is 132. Very good. What type of equation is this?
to 5.
Quadratic.
Oh,
Quadratic. It's a quadratic equation. It has x squared. I expect two solutions. They may be accepted or not. That part I don't know. We have to look. What now? What would be the next step?
X plus
Yes. X squared plus x minus 132 equals 0. Indeed. Without presenting it in descending order and set it equal to 0, I will not be able to solve. Descending order, yes. Greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, I wish. But at least one is the leading coefficient. So I'm looking for two numbers whose product is negative 132, which is a big number, and whose sum is 1. So I want the positive and the negative, and they should be very close because their difference is 1. So they should be 1 unit apart. Say it again, Whitney. 12 and? So then I get this as x plus 12 and x minus 11. And I have two options. Now I am not restricted to positive numbers or negative numbers. So this is negative 12 and positive 11. Both of them work.